Sorry. 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 If you're offended, sorry. 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 If you're offended, sorry.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is January 5th. It is also a Sunday, and it's also the year 2020.
Welcome to the new decade.
Yeah. So let's start this decade off right with an episode of Sorry If You're Offended. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is the shooting in the Texas church that got stopped by the church security team, which was just patrons of the church that so much as just carry guns. So if anything happens. Did you see the video or hear anything about it?
I heard a little bit about it. I didn't see the video, though.
Video's wicked.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's... one, if you guys are sensitive, do not watch the video. If you are a little sensitive, maybe watch the video because it just shows you the reaction time of if those guys actually did not have guns.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot worse.
Yeah,
than what happened.
I think I read that it was only one person who was killed, right, and one person who was injured. Other than the shooter.
I think so. Yes, he did get two people. One, it was really close range, so I'm assuming he was done.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next guy was a little bit farther back. He was going to draw his gun. He got hit. And then someone farther behind just pulled their gun out and just...
shot him in the face.
Yeah, a couple times. I'm pretty sure they even walked up to him as he was on the ground and put a couple more rounds in him.
Double tap, huh?
Yep. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But the crazy thing is, of course, after seeing this, people are still trying to do the exact opposite and say that guns are the worst thing ever. And
yeah, I think it kind of gives credence to the good guy with the gun argument, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's blatant what happened.
Yeah.
And, actually, USA Today released an op-ed by a blogger, and she said the thing that was terrifying was that the churchgoers were armed when the attack happened. That's what was terrifying.
Why is that terrifying?
I guess to her that she can't go into a place of worship without there being guns around.
Hey, guess what? There are many, many churches in the United States where that's a thing.
I know. And the other funny thing is she claims that the real story isn't about Wilson, the guy who stopped it, Wilson's heroism, but it's about how the attacker, who was a criminal and had a criminal record and was banned from owning a firearm, was able to get one.
Well, you're really just making our point for us then. That's exactly right. If he's banned from owning a firearm, how is he still able to obtain one? And that's what's going to continue to happen. That's the whole thing about the gun control argument. I've said it before, like, I'm all for stricter regulations. I'm all for stronger background checks, maybe even periodic background checks as you continue to own guns. Whatever has to be done to make it safer, I'm cool with that. But responsible gun ownership being taken away is not something I'm down with for that reason, because this country is too far gone. Here's the thing. Are guns a problem? Point blank, yes, they are. As a gun owner, I am telling you, guns are a problem. I recognize that. But there are so many guns on the streets, in the homes, and there are so many gun owners that have grown up and lived their entire lives owning firearms that there's no way to go back. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're too far gone. You can't just hard reset and take everything away. And I know people say, look at Australia and look at England and all this stuff, but I'm sorry, and maybe this makes me sound ignorant, but those places are not the United States. Gun ownership is so deeply ingrained as part of our identity here in America, and you can take that whatever way you want, good, bad, or indifferent, but it's a fact, is that gun ownership has been a part of being an American since the Revolutionary War. And there are people here who will not just give up their guns.
I don't think that's ignorant at all. I think you're really underlining the whole purpose of the Second Amendment. And if you just kind of let the government come in and take that away from us, especially us law-abiding citizens, then we really just lose our sense of security, and we lose our power and our right to defend ourselves.
Right. And I truly believe that if we were to try and go in that direction, there would be
an actual civil war.
It's very possible, yes. But outside of that, the issue is exactly what you just said, is that even if they were to go that way, even if in crazy scenario dreamland, they were to try to pursue removing firearms from American citizens.
And ones that are actually...
from legal gun owners.
Yes, legal and responsible.
And in scenario A, they were successful in doing so. The fact of the matter is that the bad guy, quote unquote, the person who wants to obtain that gun and use it to do evil, is going to obtain that gun one way or another.
Yep. And that just, again, like you said, it just proves it in the story,
right?
In the headline itself, in her defense of why it should never happen. Well, yeah, exactly, it should never happen. And if you take away that right, it's only going to happen more, and there's not going to be people there to protect you. The
thing about the whole gun ownership thing is, and the gun rights debate and everything, is that it's a very sensitive topic, because you're talking about situations where people's lives are being taken away, in young people's lives, these shootings in schools and things like that, and it's absolutely horrific what's happening. But unfortunately, because of the gravity of the situation, because it's the things that are happening are so awful, that people find themselves, I don't want to say overly sensitive, but in a way, overly sensitive to having a conversation. You can't be too sensitive about children being killed. I mean, that's not what I'm trying to say. But you also can't put yourself inside of this closed room where you're not willing to have a conversation, because the nature of the conversation revolves around a very difficult and very disgusting topic. It's something that needs to be confronted and addressed head on, and needs to be done so openly, looking at all sides of the equation, and you can't just immediately knee-jerk reaction because of an emotional response. And I think that's what happens a lot of times.
No, I completely agree. That was just a crazy story, and thankfully there was those men in there able to stop it.
It is a crazy story. And here's another thing that I'll point out that is interesting about that story. So at least in Michigan, I'm not sure what Texas's carry laws are. I'm sure they're a lot more loose than they are here in Michigan.
Yeah, probably a lot more loose.
But Michigan, a church is a gun-free zone. Now, there are exceptions. If the pastor of the church allows you to carry your firearm, you can carry your firearm. And there are a lot of churches here in Michigan that choose to do that. My mom's church, they have a certain number of people who are designated to protect the church if something ever happened.
Yeah. Which I feel like that's the day and age we live in now. That's everywhere. Even schools have armed security.
But that's the thing. That's exactly what I was going to point out.
That's the trend we're going to.
Is that if you look at where these attacks are happening, these killings are happening, it's always in these quote-unquote gun-free zones. Churches, nightclubs, schools, all these places where people are prohibited from carrying are where these attacks happen, because the attacker has no threat to themselves.
Yep.
So
literally shooting fish in a barrel.
Exactly. So I mean, honestly, maybe that's something that needs to be examined. I'm not here to say what's right or what's wrong. I have my own personal opinions, and I'm not here to make somebody else's opinion for them. I'm saying that we need to look at every single possible outcome and find out what protects people in the best way. And I think that this story kind of is enlightening into what the possibility might be, if you're willing to be open to a reasonable and frank discussion.
Yeah, and that's a hard discussion, like you said. Even the nightclub thing, like that's where it kind of freaks me out. It's like when you involve mind-altering substances such as alcohol or any kind of thing that would make you react quickly, it's kind of like a dangerous discussion. But again, if it's someone there that's working there, that's not
designated.
Yes.
Somebody designated to do so, or somebody sober. But at no time should somebody who's intoxicated even handle a firearm ever. Like, 100% believe that. But in the case of a nightclub, security, does somebody behind the bar, whatever, that's a little bit different situation. I'm just saying that.
No, I agree.
Situations like this, and maybe what I'm saying is wrong, but what I'm saying is that situations like this should bring about a more open conversation when you're looking at it. You're going, well, you know what? This situation could have been a lot worse, but we did have somebody there who was armed, and he prevented how many potential deaths? Maybe this is something that we need to look at seriously.
Yeah. I thought that was not necessarily a good story, but a good topic we could talk on.
No, it's definitely a good talking piece, and it should open up a discussion, if nothing else.
Well, how about this discussion on our next topic? So since we're in a new year now, we already got to restart our statistics on certain things. So they got the new gun statistics out. Just on New Year's Day, gun violence claims 177 lives.
On New Year's Day only?
On New Year's Day only. But here's what they like to bury deep down in the article. Of those 177, 45 were non-suicidal.
Yeah, so the majority of them were suicides.
Yes.
Yeah.
But would you call that gun violence?
No.
Suicide gun violence? I would
No,
call that
because
just
I think if somebody
misuse of a gun or
Yeah. I think
self-sabotage. I don't consider that violence against another person.
I mean, that speaks more to the mental health issues in this country than the gun violence issues in this country. Because those people, I mean, if those people are at that point that they're ready to take their own lives on New Year's Day, then it doesn't matter if they don't have a gun. They're going to find a way to do it.
I completely agree. I just think that was just a weird way to throw those statistics out.
They do that in all the statistics. When it comes to guns, I mean, you see that all the time where they're talking about gun violence, and like then you start to actually break down the numbers, and it's like how many of these deaths are actually caused by
Homicide.
or even just somebody unhinged with a gun going into a public place, or random killings. Yeah, homicide. So many of them are suicides. They're domestic issues.
Yep. Or just mishandling kids.
Mishandling of firearms. Yeah, all that stuff goes into it. But they don't ever break those stats down because they just want to say, hey, 400 people were killed in January by guns in Detroit. But it's like, okay, well, then you look at it and it's like, well, 350 of them either killed themselves on purpose or on accident. I mean, I'm just making these numbers up, but
Yeah, well, these numbers right here, 177 on New Year's Day. But really, only 45 were non-suicidal. So, all right, cool. Thanks for scaring everyone.
All right, so 32 of them were actual homicides in the entire country. I think that's pretty low amount considering the amount of people in the United States.
Yeah. Well, if we're speaking of low, let's get on to our next topic that I've been kind of seeing in the news lately. Things about the minimum wage increase. Do you think that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing?
I'm not on board with the minimum wage increase, and here's why. Because, well, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. I am on board with the minimum wage increase that is that corresponds appropriately with where the economy is as far as inflation. I am not on board with this Fight for 15 movement because what happens when you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour and everybody's making $15 an hour plus? If low tier workers, and I don't mean that offensively, but entry level, jobs that high school kids and stuff like that can do, such as fast food, if those workers are making $15 an hour, then logically the people who are at that next tier, who have some kind of seniority or have some kind of skilled trade or something like that, they're going to demand an increase because they deserve it. Because if this guy's making 15, then I deserve 20 because I work harder. I have developed my skills over a career that has taken me years, and so on and so forth. And then what happens because of that is that a massive inflation. The cost of everything goes up because those employers have to be able to pay their employees. And there's more money circulating in the economy. So the price of goods goes up, the price of services go up, the overall cost of living in the entire country would raise exponentially. And I mean, here in Michigan, where our minimum wage is what, like $9.50 an hour, $10 an hour?
Yeah, I think they raised it. I think they raised it.
To go all the way to $15 an hour, that would be a huge jump. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then you compare that to somewhere that's already very expensive, like an LA, a Chicago, a New York. And I just think that the ramifications are just way too overwhelming. And I don't think that it's going to really have the desired effect that these workers are looking for because they're going to price themselves out of affordable living.
Yeah. And then think about the fact of small business in general.
Yeah.
It's already dying. You think that raising the minimum wage is
it's going to be catastrophic. Those small businesses are either going to fold, they're going to have to cut their labor force. I mean, again, they're going to have to raise their prices to a point where consumers can't necessarily afford them. So, I mean, yeah, you make $15 an hour, you're making an extra $5 an hour. That's cool, right? But now you get off
rent
work.
Goes up.
I was going to say, you get off work and you go to have a beer, and that PBR that you were paying $3 for is $6 now. Your rent that was $800 before is $1,100 now. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's going to happen. And that's what I don't understand.
You're still going to be in the same situation. Just the numbers are going to look different.
Yeah,
you're still going to be in
exactly.
the same amount of debt. That's not what's going to change you getting out of debt.
Exactly. No, I think if these people are looking for some kind of economic equilibrium, then we need to look in other areas. Like you said, we need to examine the debt service. What is causing these debts? Yes, you're only making $10 an hour, But where is your money really going, that $10 an hour? Why are you struggling so much? Is it the cost of childcare? Is it your car insurance, like it is here in Wayne County? Is it, student loan bills that you're never going to be able to
Just
pay back?
interest piling up.
Interest on top of interest on top of interest. Did you have to take out credit cards to afford health care for your children? These are the kind of things that we need to be looking at and looking at some kind of relief for. And whether that's through employers offering some kind of relief program, through the government, I don't know. But I don't think that making such a drastic leap in the minimum wage amount is the solution that we're looking for.
I think everyone, you always hear those stories about back in my day, Coke was 10 cents and I could afford to get anything I wanted for a nickel. And well, what we look at now is like what you said, like we pay $3 for a PBR. That's just normal to us now.
Right.
And, and if we raise the minimum wage, then we're going to have to raise the price of all of our commodities. And then soon we're going to be the ones that are telling our kids, PBR used to be only $3 back in my day, and they're going to be looking at us like we're crazy.
And you hear, like you said, you hear about stuff like that all the time. You hear about people from previous generations paying their way through college and then buying their first home when they were 18, and that's all well and good. But the economy was in a drastically different place, and what you were paying compared to what we're paying is night and day differences. And our debt service on top of that, it prevents us from living that same kind of lifestyle. Like student loans are a huge thing for most Americans these days.
Yeah, both you and I got them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Almost down.
Almost everybody I know. And then you look at how many people are actually utilizing that degree, to do what they wanted to do, and it's a staggering amount that aren't. So, like I said, I think that the problem, isn't necessarily the amount of money that's being brought in. Like, yeah, maybe it does need to be adjusted. I'm no economic expert, but it should be adjusted accordingly. I don't think that what I'm seeing or what I'm hearing is backed by any sort of logic, to be honest with you.
Another news, there's this little Twitter feed and turned into a little meme going around talking about how, isn't it kind of disgusting that banks make $34 million in overdraft fees in 2017? That's 34 billion in overdraft fees in 2017. That's $34 billion they took from people that literally had no money.
Well, maybe those people shouldn't be spending money that they
don't have.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I
Thank you. That's all I wanted to get the point across.
I have no problem with that at all. I actually did see that meme, but like, okay, if you have no money and you don't have any money, then don't spend money. And I know that things happen. I've had overdraft fees in my life too. I mean, it happens to everybody sooner or later. Sometimes things come out and you miss, you mistake your days and things like that. But here's the thing: if it's a genuine mistake and it doesn't happen often, I've had this happen where you could talk to your bank and they'll get rid of it for you.
Yep, I've had it happen multiple
because
times
you're
myself.
a legitimate customer. You say, "Hey, I totally forgot my gym membership was going to come out today. I got the money. Is there any way we can waive this?" "Oh yeah, no problem. We'll take care of that for you right now." But there are people out there, and we all know who they are. We all know a couple of them who abuse the overdraft system, where they play the game of, okay, I got $4 in my checking account. Cigarettes are $6. So if I run it credit, it's not going to come out until tomorrow. My paycheck should be here by midnight, so I should be okay.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Happens all the time.
We know people like that. Yep.
Happens all the time. So overdraft fees exist for a reason. Banks, here, crazy story here. Banks are businesses. Of course they're looking to make money, okay? Of course they're looking to make money. Play by their rules and you got nothing to worry about.
And you're not allowed to get a bank account till you are a legal adult.
Right.
So when at that point you should know better.
Yeah.
It's not on them to tell you, "Hey, sorry.
No.
You can't take this." No, you want to take it, there's going to be a repercussion for taking it.
It always blows my mind when I see these things where people are surprised where businesses take steps to make money. It's like they're not a charity. Banks are not there, to hold your hand and teach you how to be financially responsible. No, that's your job as an adult. They're there to provide a service in exchange for money. Their service is that they protect your money. If you spend money that doesn't belong to you, they're going to charge you for it. Hey, it's no different than a credit card. You buy something on a credit card, what do? They charge you interest. It's the same thing. They're charging you for borrowing their money. Only in the case of an overdraft, the bank didn't agree to give you that money.
Yeah,
they're still gonna pony up the dough because you're a customer, but they're like, "Hey, I didn't tell you I'd lend you this, so now I'm going to charge you an extra $35 for borrowing it."
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with that. Just be responsible.
Exactly. Pay attention to your finances a little bit more and you wouldn't have to worry about overdrafting.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you the last time I overdraft because
Skip
of
the
that.
skip
I got sick of paying overdraft fees or going in there and trying to dispute it for certain stuff. It's like, all right, I just got to be the responsible adult here
100%.
and do what I got to do to not overdraft.
I haven't overdraft in years, and here's why: because they also give you services so that you don't overdraft.
Yes, overdraft protection.
Like, they get overdraft protection. I get text message alerts like when my balance gets below a certain threshold. I'll get a text message alert so that I know how much money I have left to spend.
Yep.
I guarantee that every bank offers that.
Oh, they do.
So here's the thing: if you're running low on money, you're having a tough week. It happens to everybody. Skip the Taco Bell and eat some ramen. Like, come on.
Yep. Don't smoke a whole pack of cigarettes.
Yeah. Whatever it might be. I mean, I know there's situations that you can't avoid, but there's always other avenues than purposely overdrafting. And if you have to purposely overdraft, maybe you have to put gas in your car to get to work. Things happen. People have tough times. I understand that. But you do so knowing that there are consequences.
Yes.
So, hey, if you're going to overdraft on purpose, just expect to have to pay an extra $35, $40, whatever it might be.
Yep.
That's your choice.
Completely agree. Perfectly put there, Drew. Oh, all right. This next topic's a good one. This one right here is kind of really ironic and funny. I hate to keep pulling up stuff to beat up on the left guys because I am more liberal than I am conservative. It's hard not to bring this stuff up. So Bernie Sanders is known for criticizing Jeff Bezos and all of his corporate greed for being able to avoid so many taxes. This story is a little ironic because there's a piece that's been recently released by the Washington Post. The Sanders campaign has spent $233,000 at the retail giant Amazon.
Really?
Yes, during this last campaign.
Oh, that's hilarious. What were
and they
buying?
continue to use the retailer even after voice concerns from their campaign aides and staffers. And Forbes also reported that Amazon has paid billions in state, local, payroll, and income taxes, but they avoid paying a huge chunk of property and corporate taxes. So they are paying taxes, but they still are kind of avoiding some.
So do they get away from paying those property and corporate taxes because they basically do most of their stuff through like drop shipping? Like,
I'm assuming, yeah, they follow the state regulations and all that stuff.
well, I mean, like they sell for a third party. So like, if you buy something from Amazon, it'll say being shipped by Amazon, or maybe you'll buy something through Amazon where it's actually coming from like
someone else,
Jiqing in China, and then Jiqing will mail it to you, but Amazon's still taking their cut kind of thing, so. But that is hilarious. I wonder what they were buying from Amazon.
It was all like office supplies and furniture and stuff like that.
You know what, though? I think that, okay, so I don't think that this is necessarily beating up on the left. I think the lesson of this is that everybody's a fucking hypocrite.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yep. It's right there in your face.
Yeah.
The one place he always talks about being so, corporate evil and greedy, he's sitting there and just funneling, thousands upon thousands of dollars into it just so he can get his pens and pencils and his chairs to sit on for his staff.
Hey, Bernie Sanders, why don't you go to Office Depot like the rest of us, bro?
Yeah, Staples.
Yeah.
Staples was even one of the options that was in the article I was reading. There was a few options, but they decided to still stick with Amazon.
Hey, it's the convenience factor. That's why we all sell our souls to Amazon, let's be honest. You can't beat the convenience. I can order a pencil and it'll be here tomorrow. Hey, I'm cool with that. That's why I don't really beat up on Jeff Bezos. Like, yeah, he should probably pay taxes, and yeah, he has more money than God. But you know what? I use Amazon all the fucking time. I got a box from Amazon waiting on my porch right now, getting snowed on. I had to have those comic books, it's too easy.
So this is about Bernie Sanders again. I'm sorry, Bernie. I voted for you, and I probably will vote for you again if you beat out Biden. I'm not gonna lie, but I gotta call you out when I gotta call you out.
Yeah, that's what we're all about.
Bernie Sanders takes in $34.5 million in donations to his campaign, the most from any Democrat during the fourth quarter. They're making this huge deal about it, but they also made a big deal that Trump reels in $46 million and just has a lot more on hand, just ready to spend for his campaign. So he's just like way ahead of any Democrat in the amount of money they brought in.
Well, he has a ton to put out of pocket too, so he's got that advantage,
Yep. But the spin to this story that makes it really great and funny, I guess some people it's not funny. But Washington Post, when they came out with the article talking about how Bernie Sanders made $34.5 million in donations, they used a certain photo that a lot of people claim to be anti-Semitic.
Really?
Yes. It was a photo of Bernie Sanders rubbing his hands together. And they're trying to say that's a anti-Semitic depiction of a Jew rubbing his hands together. They also, in the backdrop of him rubbing his hands together, there's the word not.
The word not?
Yes. Like it was like a banner that said something. Probably said, not my president or not something. But his body blocked out what the rest of the banner said. And the only word that you could read on the banner said not. And it was a picture of him going like this, rubbing his hands together. And then it shows everyone else's photos, like Pete Buttigieg, and when they made money, it showed them like raising their hands or with an American flag behind them. So they're trying to say that this was anti-Semitic because they had him rubbing his hands together, which is like a Jew wanting money.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen memes of Jewish people where that's like...
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what they're trying to say is that they...
This is the Washington Post, you said?
Yes, the Washington Post was forced to retract that picture that they put out there with that article of him making $34.5 million.
It definitely sounds sketchy. I mean, they did retract the photo, so...
But they retracted it after the backlash of one person on Twitter calling it out.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily...
I think they wanted to get it retracted before it got any more...
Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily anti-Semitic. I can see why people might think that, or like why one person might think that, but I don't know. That's wild.
I mean,
it's funny.
I feel the same way.
It's funny whenever I hear something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but like, I think like this guy who got outraged about it, got pissed off about it. Like, what's wrong with you that your mind immediately went there,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like, doesn't that make you kind of anti-Semitic? That you think just because a man is rubbing his hands together and he happens to be Jewish, that they're making fun of him? Like, and then you're like playing, I don't know, National Treasure, like looking through the photo for clues of anti-Semitism. Like, what is wrong with you, man? What's wrong with your mind?
It reminds me of those people that just sit there and look for like triangles in pictures, like Illuminati, Illuminati.
Exactly. Like, what? I don't know. I just think...
And not everything has to have a meaning behind it.
Sometimes people just are shitty at their job. Maybe their photo editor just sucks.
Yeah, maybe on a deadline real quick, you just like, all right, boom, just pick the first photo and threw it out there.
And now you got somebody fired because he sucks at his job.
I just thought it was a really funny story.
It is funny. Or maybe it is anti-Semitic and I'm just ignorant. Who knows? But I just think that's the first thing that always pops in my mind. It's
but the fact that
why do we even have to go there?
Yeah, we would have never even went there or thought about it until he brought it up and made it this big thing that it probably didn't ever have to be.
Like, if Bernie Sanders didn't bring it up, then why are you bringing it up?
Yep.
If Bernie Sanders' advisors or, his campaign advisor or whatever, if they weren't the ones who, like, contact the Washington Post and be like, yo, this is fucked up, then why are you talking about it?
I agree. I thought it was just another outreach for someone to get their 5 minutes of fame of finding out something.
Of course. Congratulations, whatever your Twitter handle is. You peaked.
Yep, you got it.
Great job.
You caught him. You got that guy fired.
Good job.
Yep.
Hey.
We're happy for you.
I hope you're happy with your achievements in life.
So next thing, you heard of Julian Castro dropping out of the presidential race. He did this past week. Oh, yeah. You probably didn't even realize he was in the presidential race.
I did not even. When you said Julian Castro, I thought of what was that kid who like floated over here from Cuba when we were like in high school?
Hugo?
No, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
There's like a kid who like rode a raft here from Cuba to Miami.
No, I don't remember it. And he went to our school?
No, he didn't go to our school. It was like a national news story.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember what you're talking about.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, I know it's terrible, but I haven't kept up with the Democratic race, recently as much as I can because it's just like so overwhelming.
Well, yeah, you can't when there's 26 candidates.
Yeah. I mean, I know the main ones who like, no offense, Julian Castro, but I know the ones who have a chance of winning. Those are the ones that I kind of keep up on, but there were so many, like...
Yeah, there was a lot. He eventually gave it up. He was the other one that was from Texas.
Okay.
So he was Mexican, and he was one of the first debates they would speak in Spanish, and He made sure that everyone knew he could speak Spanish.
Gotcha.
Um,
So now there's 25.
yeah, I don't know. I think there's literally 12 now. I don't know. There's still too many. I'm pretty sure Marianne Williamson's still in it, which she's crazy. Don't get me wrong, but the one couple debates I did hear, like she actually had some good valid points. Just things that you would want to hear from a leader, and I don't know. Don't get me wrong. She's not winning, and I'm not voting for her, but.
Doesn't matter.
Just her outlook on life and stuff was kind of.
Isn't that really a shame though that you can look at the candidate pool and be like they're not winning because they don't have name recognition.
Yep.
Like that should really speak a lot of volume to what's wrong with our political system. It's not that you just said this lady has some great ideas and said the things you want to hear from a leader, but she has no chance of winning because she doesn't have that name recognition.
Yep.
That's pretty sad, honestly.
Let's go to a different crazy, stupid topic that's happening here locally.
Okay.
Detroit firefighters are taking heat. You like what I did there? They're taking heat for taking a selfie on New Year's Eve in front of a burning down vacant house. So there was like 30 of them, and they all lined up together as the house was burning in the background and took a selfie. And now everyone's...
So why are people upset?
Because they weren't putting the fire out. Instead, they were taking a selfie in front of it. So people are...
Do people understand how many vacant... You said it was vacant, right?
Yes, vacant house. And it was next to another vacant house.
Yeah. How many vacant houses in the city of Detroit burn down on a daily basis?
Yeah, and how unfunded our fire department is. So they're going in there with crappy uniforms and crappy...
Well, a lot of times if it's a vacant house, as you said, and it's in a neighborhood of vacant houses, and it's not in danger of the fire spreading, they just let it burn because they don't have the resources to combat it, and it's not worth the risk to them to risk injury. And let's be honest, it kind of clears out a little bit of blight when that happens because those vacant houses are a huge liability. Like that's one of the reasons that Detroit is in the shape that it's in. And don't get me wrong, Detroit has come a long way. I work in the city of Detroit. I'm down there every single day. I've been down there pretty frequently, almost daily since I was 18 and graduated high school and went to college down there. And to see the transformation of the downtown area is remarkable. I'm very proud of it. I'm proud to be a part of it. But Detroit is still in shambles. It's a huge city. And so much of it is populated by vacant properties that just continue to be vacant because of the liability of the property itself, because they're in such bad state of decay that for someone to purchase it and not have the money to immediately restore it, or not want to restore it because of the area that it's in, it's a liability for them. So nobody wants to touch that stuff because if somebody goes into that house to do whatever in there and then gets hurt, it's on the homeowner.
Yep.
So really clearing those houses out is the best case scenario. Like,
yeah, and a lot of them are, like you said, they're even beyond restoration.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, you just can't. You might as well just tear down and start all from scratch.
Well, there's so many issues. Like, they are. I mean, you drive down some of the streets, and you can tell before you even approach the house that it's beyond restoration because, the roof is caving in, windows are all blown out. It's just in deplorable condition. But outside of that, if you're an investor, okay, and you're investing in, say, 4 houses on the east side of Detroit, and you purchase these 4 houses, but they happen to be in one of the worst neighborhoods in Detroit where the rest of the neighborhood is still in horrible condition. There's a high crime rate. If you put the whatever amount of money that it would take to restore them and make them in livable condition into these houses, what do you think is going to happen until the rest of the neighborhood is given the same amount of care? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Is that it's just going to get run down again. People are going to run in there and destroy what you've built, and they're going to, and it's just going to be a never-ending cycle. So that's why people aren't really investing in the outskirts of Detroit. People are always like, around here, of course, everybody is happy with Detroit's comeback, but one of the big things that you hear all the time is that it's just downtown. It's just downtown. It's not, Detroit's still dangerous and blah, blah, blah. And it is, but it's going to take time because you have to spread out slowly and gradually, So I don't see any issue with those firefighters letting the house burn. It's New Year's Eve. They have a very tough job.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like a family lived in that home. It's not disrespectful to the family. They're not celebrating somebody else's misfortune. They're like, hey, it's New Year's Eve. This is our job. I'm with my crew. What's up?
Yeah, and let's be honest. Someone set that house on fire to begin with.
Yeah,
so.
definitely. So I
And
don't.
it was probably someone, let's be honest, from that neighborhood that wants to get rid of the blight houses in their neighborhood.
Of course, or it's just an arsonist, but
I know, but I mean, there's been a lot of reports of
Yeah.
people that want to get rid of the blight in their neighborhood, and there's supposed to be a lot of funding for it that's not getting used correctly.
yeah, there's supposed to be so many controlled burns a year that they do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, they could just be, I'm not waiting any longer. I'm just taking matters in my own hands.
But even outside of that, like I said, I don't see why people. This is one of those classic things that it's like, why the fuck do you care that the Detroit firemen are taking a selfie with a burning house? Hey, they're firemen. Something's on fire. Of course they're going to take a selfie in front of it. It's like saying, hey, this doctor took a selfie in front of the surgery room. Like, who the fuck cares? Right?
Yep.
Why does it even affect you? Those guys go out there and put their lives on the line every single day. And it was New Year's Eve, and nobody was hurt. Nobody's feelings were hurt.
Nope.
Why the fuck do you care?
I agree. I think it's just a reason for outrage. And
It is. It's
an article for someone to write.
It's absurd.
But speaking of the fire department, now I don't know the exact state. I'm going to go with Florida because it just sounds right. I think it was a southern state, Florida, around there. There's actually police taking heat for making a panhandler quilt out of panhandler cardboard boxes, and they gave it to their chief.
I did see this. And I think that it was incredibly poor taste. Like
yes,
on that one,
I agree. That was a little overdone.
On that one, I do agree that the outrage because it is completely inappropriate and kind of disgusting. To take a picture of it and post it on social media, especially, like, okay, we don't know what happens behind closed doors in the police department, and I know there are people out there who are just like, all cops are bastards, blah, blah, blah. I don't even care about all that. They're going to do what they have to do to get through their days because they also have a pretty shitty and
an
dangerous
intense job. Yes.
Very intense job.
Very stressful.
But to take a picture of it and glorify it and post it on social media, that is just, I think that it's disgusting as well, I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to take to my platform and say anything about it, but I definitely see why people are outraged about it.
Yeah, I can see it. I just think it's a little degrading because those are people that are literally begging for money and begging for help.
Yeah, it's absolutely degrading.
I mean, if it was like a drug bust, then you made like a drug quilt with like bags of cocaine and like random stuff like that of actual criminals. Not people like starving. It'd be a little bit different.
Well, I think that's the appropriate follow-up to the discussion about the firefighters because this picture is exactly what the other picture wasn't. This is exactly what I was saying. Whereas the firefighter picture, nobody was injured. You're not making fun of anybody's misfortune. This is the exact opposite. This is them making fun of somebody who are in the worst state they could be in life, who are basically helpless, and they're making light of that. And that's just, the function of the police originally is supposed to be to protect and serve, and this is a clear example of them doing the exact opposite. And those officers should definitely be reprimanded, if not removed from duty. I mean, I think that's just disgusting.
Did you hear the story of the Amish teens that were arrested in Michigan?
I did not.
They were drunk while driving a horse and buggy.
No, I didn't hear about this, but that's awesome.
Yeah, this is a funny story to bring up, and it's really, I guess, I don't want to make fun of the Amish, but
were they on Rumspringer? Is that what it's called? Rumspringer?
Yeah, they had to have been on that, or they were just out partying without being noticed. But the crazy part is the mugshots they got of these guys, it literally looks like a Clockwork Orange. Like,
really?
It's so. I hate to call these guys out, but they're scary, dude. They scared me.
Can you imagine being Amish and trying to grow up in 2019?
No.
That's why. I mean, we were just having a conversation yesterday, Scott and I, about how far technology has come within our lifetimes. Both of us agreed that we remember when our schools got the first computers. Like, that was a huge thing. So technology has obviously increased exponentially in the last, we'll say, 20 years. But trying to be Amish or being raised in that way when this technological boom is happening around you and everywhere else in the world, and trying to basically ignore it, I couldn't even imagine what that's like.
Yeah, it'd be such a crazy world to grow up in, and knowing around that we have all this access to just everything.
Well, especially if you're out there, getting drunk and driving buggies and stuff, so you have some notion of what's going on in the world, right?
Yeah, and you're obviously paying because they trade with us, and they obviously.
Yeah, they do all kinds of stuff.
Yep. Of course, now I can't find the pictures.
So where did this happen?
This happened in Michigan, in Beaverton Township. I think I just found it.
I did see that picture. Okay. So I did see that picture. I didn't realize that that's what it was for.
It looks scary. I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to make fun of you guys, but you guys freak me out.
Well, those four in particular.
Yep. It literally looks like they all have like their white shirts on that looks like just got done drinking milk at a milk bar and beating up bums in the alley.
Just a little bit of ultra violence.
But yeah, that was a crazy story that I had to just throw in.
That's interesting. Oh, good for them getting out and experiencing life.
In other news, there was a story about Tampa Bay Buccaneer defensive tackle Raheem Nunez Roches.
I never heard of him
either.
Yeah, he's got to be a scrub.
Yep. This is kind of a little Michael Vick touchback to episode 1, guys. He abandons his dog by the side of a busy road and then claims that they're having a baby and can't have a dog anymore.
Fuck that guy.
Yep. This is go all under the news. It's just kind of got brushed under because his dog somehow eventually ended up in a kennel, and then someone actually did adopt it. So I got a hold of this story because it was a happy story that someone adopted this guy's dog.
Well,
but
good.
then halfway in the message it says, but they still don't understand why it was found on the side of a road and abandoned, and his excuse was that they're having a baby and they couldn't have this kind of, because it was, I'm not sure the type of dog, but it was one of those, guard dogs, you would say, that are probably would snap at a baby, maybe, possibly, but you still go about the right way when you're going to get rid of it, you know what I'm saying?
Would snap at a baby? No, you're just being like dog racist. No dog is inherently going to just snap at a baby, but I get what you're saying. It's a large.
No, I know. You've met my mom's dog, Miles.
I'm just messing with you.
Some dogs just
but it's
just skittish.
It's
you know
a
what I'm
large
saying?
breed
Yes.
dog, basically. Yeah, so he just opened up his door, basically, and let it out on the side of the road.
Yeah, they said he's found on the side of the road somewhere, and
Fuck
he never
that guy.
had to answer it for it or
That's
anything.
terrible.
He just kind of got brushed under the rug because it eventually ended up in a kennel, and then it eventually ended up in someone else's home.
If you take on the responsibility of owning a dog, then you take on that responsibility
I agree.
for life. And when you are deciding whether, owning a dog is something for you, it's something you have to account for. And there are going to be times in your life where it's not convenient to own the dog. I mean, I'm dealing with it right now. I have a big dog, and I'm like thinking about trying to find my own place to live, and I work 12 hours a day, but it kind of limits my options because I'm not going to leave him in a loft or an apartment for 12 hours a day by himself. But you know what? That's what I signed up for. Then that dog
that's your
That
responsibility.
dog is my responsibility, and he's my family, and that's fine. That's what I took. So wherever I go in the future, you better rest assured that my plans are going to include him or going to be centered around what's best for him as well. And that's how it should be for everybody. Like, hey, you're having a baby. Congratulations. Good for you. If you cannot continue to care for that dog properly, it's your responsibility to find him a good and safe home.
Yep.
That is disgusting.
I agree. And I'll even go along with you kind of where even it being a bigger dog and it can be skittish or whatever and be violent, that's still your responsibility where you could figure a way to keep the dog away from the baby.
Yeah, you're an
adult.
NFL player too. Like, you got so much money, you're telling me you can't figure out, like, keep him in a different area of your house.
You probably have like 3 different houses in general.
Right. Just hire somebody to take him out and walk him so he gets his energy out or something. Like, come on, dude. You're a fuck. That's what you are. You're a fuck. I don't even know what your name is because you're a scrub player too, but fuck you.
Bill Gates recently came out and says he thinks there is a disease that is coming that could kill 30 million people within 6 months. How do you feel about that?
Terrified.
Do you believe in Bill Gates? Do you think that he's right, or do you think
I do believe in Bill Gates?
Think he's trying to?
Bill Gates is real. You'll never tell me different.
I know he's real, but I mean, you don't think he could also be attributing to the fear machine?
I feel okay. So, pandemic is one thing that terrifies me, like a global pandemic, because I think that we live in this illusion of safety that we believe that it can't happen to us, but historically, I mean, it's happened how many times?
Yeah. It happens.
And it's something that you can't prepare for, and it's something that you really can't combat until you know what you're dealing with. And the way there's so many people in the world, and we're in such confined spaces that disease spreads rampantly, and disease mutates against vaccinations. So it could be something that we've already seen before that finds a way around what we've already developed, and it could come and bite us in the ass. However, I do feel like this is something that we hear like every 10 years. Like, it's coming. The big one's coming, you know? The bubonic plague 2.0, it's coming. I feel like we've heard this like every 10 years, at least as long as I can remember, consciously knowing about things like global pandemic. So who knows, man? I mean, I think it's one of those things that it's scary, and it should make you think. It should make you think about your own self and your own practices as far as, combating germs and how you interact with the world and around you and people and things like that, and taking steps to be as safe as possible. But if it happens, it happens. And I hate to say it like that, but it's like there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, it's there.
So it's like one of those things like that. I find it's better. Maybe it makes you sound ignorant, but it's better just not to think about it, because there's nothing you can do about it. You
kind of like the comet theory,
Yeah, like like that
asteroid that it's over.
It's better just not to know, because there's nothing you can do. Why sit there and drive yourself crazy, like obsessing about this possibility of an eventuality that may or may not happen? And if it does, there's not a fucking thing you can do about it. So yeah. I don't know. I read that too, and like, of course, like I said, immediately I was like terrified to my soul, but then I just kind of smoked a little weed and made myself forget about it, because I don't want to think about it. It's
Well, let's get on to this next hot topic. So there was something that we talked about again yesterday in your car while we were driving around, and I had to stop from talking about it. And this is a little touchy subject for some people. I don't know how to say these guys' names, so excuse me. But earlier in the week, Trump killed some Iranian generals and majors, and they were terrorists. They attacked the embassy earlier within the week. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the assassination of these generals?
Mixed feelings. So, obviously, any kind of war in the Middle East, my immediate knee-jerk reaction is that we don't need to be a part of it. We shouldn't be engaging. The fact that they attacked the United States Embassy, I guess, does deserve retaliation. But my understanding is that Trump attacked this guy in Iraq, not in Iran, right?
Yeah, it was in Iraq, but he is the Iranian general.
Yeah. And of course, as soon as it happened, like, there's so much stuff on Facebook going off, and like both sides, just people just posting news articles and memes and opinions and rants, and it's tough. Like I said, my immediate knee-jerk reaction is no, we don't need to be engaging in any kind of war. Trump has said that he wants to, pull out of the Middle East, and that he's all about de-escalation and things like that. And then he goes and he does the exact opposite. I do think that an attack on any kind of U.S. soil, including an embassy, which is technically United States soil, does dictate some kind of response. Absolutely. But in the grand scale of things, I mean, I think the thing that sticks out to me more is exactly what I just said, is that the people's reaction to this thing happening to me is kind of like implausible. You see so many people like posting memes about World War III and like all this shit, and it's like, do you realize how many of these attacks, how many drone strikes Obama conducted when he was in office?
Way more. I think
so
it was
many.
2,800. I actually read it today.
So many. And just because they weren't as effective as Trump's one that you're hearing about doesn't mean that he wasn't constantly engaging in these kind of activities, and that he wouldn't have done the same thing, because he probably would have. I mean, you have to as a leader.
Yep.
Otherwise, they're going to continue to do that.
Yeah, and to bring up another just random point, I think if we actually had Hillary, there'd been a lot more so far.
Oh, you would see troops like loading up and shipping out, probably, honestly, for something like them attacking an embassy. Maybe not. But I just, like I said, the act itself, I'm kind of like, I don't know how I feel about it. I'll be 100% honest with you. But people's reactions to it so far are just like absurd to me, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it yesterday about people even posting the memes that they're kind of excited for it because
Well, not excited for it, not for the attack itself, but like all these memes and discussions, people are like fixated on this idea that World War III is about to start.
and it's all Trump's fault.
Yeah,
that's-
and they actually seem excited about it because they want to be right about Trump so badly that they would sacrifice American lives or, other countries, people's lives in pursuit of a ridiculous war just to be like, ha, 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 ha.
told you we were right.
Look what a piece of shit Trump is. He started World War III. Can you see it? Do you see it? World War III. It's his fault. Like,
Yep.
That's fucked to me, You shouldn't be glorifying that just to be right about Trump.
One of the things I read is Ilhan Omar, representative from Minnesota. She's actually trying to turn it and say the only reason he did it is so he can re-win the election. Is basically that we're going to go to war, and then once we're in war, it's going to give him a boost.
Well,
and he's going to re-win the election.
I did see
and
them.
it's a whole distraction from the impeachment. It's just to keep your eyes off of what's going on over there.
Well, okay.
But I don't know if I believe that.
Okay, well, devil's advocate, I did see the meme, or I guess you could call it a meme, where people were posting Trump's old tweets talking about Obama and how Obama would start a war with Iran in order to stay in office.
I've seen that too.
So it is interesting, and it is a possibility. I mean, I'm not going to say definitively yes or no. I think that maybe he saw an opportunity to accomplish a few things, and maybe he took it. Maybe that is part of it. But I also, honestly, unpopular opinion, I don't think he needed to do that to win the election.
Yeah, that's
like,
my
honestly,
main point.
Because the impeachment's not going to go through. You and I have talked about it a bunch of times.
Yes.
It's not going to pass the Senate.
And that's why he's going to win.
Yes, it's not going to pass the Senate. His approval rating has already gone up since the impeachment passed the House. And the Democrats are still fucking running around with their thumbs up their asses.
Yep.
Like, I don't think he needs Iran to win the election. I don't. But I also don't think that if he is going to lose, I don't think that Iran is going to stop him from losing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that Trump is a polarizing leader that we would come together in a time of war and unite behind him. You know what I'm saying? Like, George Bush won a second term because of 9/11. Because that was the most fucked up thing that's happened on American soil since, I don't know, the sinking of the Lusitania. Like, and the country was swollen with patriotism, and we were all united in this thing that we're going to go and we're going to fucking kick Al-Qaeda's ass.
Yep.
And he's going to be the guy to do it because he's our leader. And that's why he won. Let's be honest. That's not the same for Trump. Nobody's going to swell behind Trump and be like, you know what, Daddy Trump, you're right. We're all scared. Lead us to victory. I don't think he needs Iran. I don't think it's of any benefit to him.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's the exact opposite almost, because that's what like we said, we're getting this whole backlash of people that are more proud that he's about to start World War III and
Right.
kill all of us.
Because they want to be right about him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're not going to change those people to stick behind him when we need someone to stick behind to go into war with,
Yeah, I agree completely. So I don't think that, I don't know. Like I said, maybe he saw an opportunity and he's trying to use it to flip the election. But I don't think that he needs to do it. I don't think that's the logic behind it. So, I don't know. I mean, no war is a good thing. No violence is a good thing. No military action is a good thing, in my opinion. But also, maintaining your position of strength in the world is also an important thing. So
Yeah, exactly. If not, people are just going to start walking all over you.
if they don't take you seriously, yeah, 100%. And
That goes for all aspects of life, not just, war, just people in general. You can't let people walk all over you, but
No.
you can't also go out there and just start shit to start shit.
right, be a bully.
Yeah. I don't know why I turned this into a different conversation.
Well, that's what it is. It's basically, I mean, it's just like, like how people used to say, I tell my kid, you don't start the fight, but you end it,
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I don't swing first, I swing last, that kind of thing.
Yep.
It's the same kind of deal. Like, they attacked, they provoked us, Trump took them out, whatever.
Yep. Let them know who's boss real quick,
Yeah.
Hey, you're going to do this, we're going to do this back. We're not just going to take
So what are they going to do? They're going to come back and they're going to attack us again, and what do you think is going to happen? Hey, you might think what you want about the United States. Yes, this country's gone downhill and we have a lot of issues, but we are still a very scary military power, and there is no denying that.
Again, to bring up, because I did write it down here, those numbers, that they made the big deal that he didn't get congressional approval, but Obama did do 2,800
Without congressional
without
approval?
congressional approval while he was in office. So 1 to 2,800.
It seems like a pretty fair trade-off to me.
Yeah. And the last topic I have that we can touch on, if you want to avoid fraud, make sure you finish your dating anything with 2020. Don't leave the 20 empty.
Oh, why?
Because then someone can always backdate it to 2019 or 2021.
What advantage does that give them?
If they would need to change the date of something, let's say you go to sign a contract
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
or sign a check.
Okay. So just
You
always
make sure
write
you
out
write
the
the
entire
2020.
year.
Yes,
I
this is the
gotcha.
1 year you got to kind of do it. Now, all the other years you can, you got 21 or
Mhm.
19. This year you can throw the 20 in there and then add it to whatever year you want it to be. I don't know anything about criminals to know exactly what you could do with that, but that was just a little interesting fact.
Like
that,
you said, when it comes to signing, legal documents or contracts, I guess that is a good thing to be aware of. I hadn't thought of it. I guess I'm too pure. My mind doesn't work that way.
Mine doesn't either, guys. I swear I read this article somewhere.
So I think we're going to go ahead and call it a week.
Yep. So we would like to thank you guys for listening and for subscribing to us. We've had a good first couple episode views and everything, so we got some good feedback. We'd definitely like to hear from you more on some topics, so please send us some emails or contact us on Facebook or Instagram.
Yep, and if you're liking what you're hearing at all, please don't forget to rate us and subscribe and share us with your friends. That's really the only way that we're going to get this thing out there. So if you know anybody who might be interested or anybody who might have something cool that they want us to talk about, just share an episode with them or tell them to reach out to us. We'd really appreciate that.
Yep. And until next time, I'm Scott.
And I'm Drew.
And this is Sorry If You're Offended podcast.
Take care, guys.